travelers left the Leviathan coast behind, traveling deep into the heart of the Cannibal Plains, drawn further in by the sight of a large structure looming in the distance. Following that path led to bloodshed, a lot of bloodshed, yet cat and dog prevailed and pushed on, finally arriving at a great plateau, sitting high above the plains. It was there the structure waited for them, with naught but a single iron spider guiding the path. The entry seemed easy, perhaps too easy. Inside, they came upon a breadcrumb trail leading to an up-level where the cannibals lay in wait. But they were not ready for the hurricane that was Cat. With blade in hand, he tore through all who would oppose him. The scant treasures of the tower would be his, along with the knowledge that any tech hunters that come this way won't find themselves roasting on the fireplaces of the cannibals, at least for a little while. The sun would be on its way down, but that didn't matter to Cat. He could not rest in a place such as this, a place of death and decay. Perhaps against better judgment, they would leave the plateau behind, traveling instead down a steep slope of scree and rock, tracking the water as it flowed to a sizable lake. They would not linger at the water's edge. It was but a marker, an indicator of the floodlands they had left behind days prior. And as they edged away from the floodlands, they left the rain behind too, unsure of when they would see fresh water again. Cat prayed they would find a way. For now, the water that they carried with them would suffice. They wouldn't be able to leave the area without trouble, however. Trouble was always close by. It was at the stage of trouble that they knew well, but still a trouble that could bring down young dog. Lucky for them though, Cat was always ready to carry a friend in need. The skirmish, a momentary distraction, and nothing more. The duo would need somewhere to sleep this night, and lucky for Cat, the continent provided. Yet there was no easy way to tell who might reside in a place so distant and remote as this. More cannibals? The possibility was certainly there, yet all around Cat were the sounds of life, the songs of birds, memories from a distant childhood. This was a forest, and it was alive, an area on the map known as the Hidden Forest, no less. As it would turn out, the building was inhabited, and as Cat arrived, a guard quickly took off inside. He anxiously waits until another appears.
Traveler, what's your business here?
I'm looking for refuge, somewhere to sleep. I have a lot to offer. Equipment, well made and ancient. Do you accept?
We agree. However, the mutt stays outside.
You got yourself a deal. The guard cycled with another, leaving Cat to see the dog. The young one had recovered enough to stand and was used to a life in the open. Cat would still feel a pang of concern. Cat surveyed the inside. Warriors, not much older than he, practiced their form, striking with an imaginary blade. An interesting technique. Making sure it would be acceptable, Cat stepped in to take a swing. One of the warriors watching on. The blade that Cat swung was easily twice the size of the swords he'd seen them use. Yet, Cat could swing this blade like it was one much smaller. He made conversation in between swings with the warrior that watched on. Her name was Nera, and she was of the Flotsam ninjas. They talked of technique, methods of combat, and Cat shared many of the, quite frankly, unbelievable aspects of his tale thus far. It was common for the ninjas to have encounters with the cannibals of the plains. Nera did not relish in their deaths, but knew it was a necessity to keep this forest safe. After some time, she left Cat to take up station outside, but after keeping a close eye, it seems the duty was nothing more than an excuse to see the large bone dog that waited outside. Aptly named Dog. If Cat's stories were true, then this little one was quite the fearsome fighter. Nera had shared Cat's story with the others, of his victory over the cannibals of the keep. The others laughed. The notion was incredulous, yet Cat was ready to prove himself. A friendly bout might help settle things. and so with dulled blades in hand, Cat would work to prove himself. He kept the blade affixed to his back, along with the backpack weighing him down. He was wary to unleash his full strength. Yet these Flotsam ninjas, they put up a good fight. One by one, they start to fall, tapping out of the combat. But with victory close at hand, Cat starts to tire. The accumulation of blows, too much for any one person, and Cat is no god. Victory goes to the ninjas, who heavily outnumbered Cat, but were all surprised by just how long the young warrior lasted. As the sun set and the stars rose, Cat and the ninjas rose with them. They broke bread, shared water, and talked endlessly of this wanderer's journey. Cat would do all he could, though, to deflect questions about the blade. Finally, laying down to rest, he would be sure it was close at hand. Sleep, however, would not come so easily. While the ninjas had been kind and welcoming, his experience in the floodlands had caused him to be cautious of others. The mechanical man, Burn, had nearly taken it from him. It wouldn't happen again, he swore to himself then, and sought to keep that promise now. But even if his mind wasn't troubled by the blade, he might still struggle to sleep. The ninjas trained all hours of the night, and outside, the sound of rain and the even more unfamiliar sound of wildlife would keep just about anyone up. And even though it wouldn't be a sound sleep, it was still the best Cat had had in months. It felt good to be around people. But he knew it couldn't last. Dawn arrives, and Cat must leave his new friends behind. With most of the ninjas still asleep, now would be the perfect time. Goodbyes weren't Cat's strong suit. Burn's tower was visible in the distant floodlands, and the blade on Cat's back was feeling heavy. Dog was happy to have their companion back, and Cat was just happy to be making progress again. The next leg of their journey would have them following an old trade route along the outskirts of the hidden forest, still close to those cannibal plains. Cat had caught sight of a building in the morning light and is unsure as of yet who it belongs to. The smell of blood was on the air. The cannibals had been here. The wounds matched those of the blades belonging to the Flotsam ninjas. Yelling out to those within, Cat would find the ninjas to be doing just fine. The building was one of many scout outposts that the ninjas used to keep a watchful eye on their borders. From here, their journey would take them northwards, towards a village not so far from the coast. What kind of peoples would reside here? Cat thought to himself. But as the two approached, something seemed off. Turbines turned, but there were no guards, no watchers. There were plenty of homes, and even a bar. Maybe they're just shy. The bar seemed like the best chance to find inhabitants, so Cat entered. Yet, not a soul. Even atop the building, no travelers slept. Perhaps they were out hunting. The thought seemed strange, considering they had crops ready to harvest close by. Maybe they were just hiding then. Fearing him to be some kind of raider, he'd have to check the other buildings. Suddenly, movement close by. Tech hunters. Cat signaled that he meant them no harm, and they returned the gesture. They paid him little attention, carrying along their way a mixture of Scorchlanders and Hivers. They entered the homes here, not like they owned them, but rather like they were looking for something. Cat knew better than to ask too many questions, so instead, he'd gather what he could from the still working well, filling his water skin, while cautiously keeping an eye on the tech hunters. What happened to the people who called this place home? The mill still spun, so they couldn't have been gone that long. With all they'd seen so far, cannibals seemed the most likely cause, yet no blood stained this ground, a mystery. And it was a mystery that he would leave to the tech hunters, for something much greater loomed in the distance. At first, catching the eye of Dog, and then Cat, great walls, rising above the hills. The sea here seemed inviting, shining like so many crystals in the midday sun. Now was the time to travel. What a sight that sea was. But against its background, Cat could make out stark figures, hungry bandits, wandering human skeletons. No doubt they would see Cat and Dog, but he held hope they wouldn't choose to fight. Dog would appear a tasty meal to the troop, but if they were fast, they could make it to the walls before the bandits. But the walls of who? What group called this place home? Those fond of fish, it would seem. The two travelers could smell it before they saw it. Drying racks all across the town, fish baking in the midday sun, and fishermen returning to town. Talking to a young Scorchlander named Plant, Cat found out the village was called Dead Cat, of all things. They specialized in fishing up here on the northern coast. They kept to themselves and seemed to have little affiliation towards the Holy Nation or the United Cities. Music to Cat's ears. Yet as the two were talking, they could hear trouble nearby. Plant was quick on her feet, rushing into the fray, but quickly falling. But Cat wasn't ready to let anyone be dragged away today. Returning to Plant, she seemed to be doing just fine, albeit a little bloodier than before. Most of the locals were heading into Dead Cat's bar to celebrate a successful defense, and it was only right that Cat should join them. There were patrons aplenty, both locals and travelers alike. Cat would fit in here just fine, and so it is with that. We shall be ending our tale for today, as Cat sits and knocks back some grog, planning, as always, what comes next. And picturesque as this village is, it's not somewhere Cat can stay for long. It might have a modicum of safety, but it won't challenge our lad. And if safety was truly all he wanted, there've been plenty of places along his journey he could have stayed a lot longer. There is always the fear that someone will come looking for the blade, that by being somewhere for too long, he puts that place in danger. But really, that's just a convenient lie our lad Cat tells himself at night. Be it the influence of the blade or not, he seeks a good fight. The cannibals, the hungry bandits, they will not provide it. And so, we will carry on. And plus, living in a town called Dead Cat seems like it's testing fate. So yes, we shall be moving on. And where to, you may ask? Well, from Dead Cat, we can see a mountain path, a trail leading high into the hills. That, I believe, shall be our next destination. But Legionnaires, that shall be next time. I truly do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please consider leaving a comment or a like to let me know if you enjoyed the show. For now, I have been Rycon. You have all been awesome, and until next time, stay tuned.